Hello, geometry students. Welcome back to another video lesson as we continue to talk about and explore three-dimensional objects. Today we are going to focus on lateral area and surface area of prisms and cylinders. So we're not looking at all shapes today, just prisms and the cylinders, and we're going to talk about two types of areas. But first, looking at these nets, please pause the video and give me a name, the most appropriate name for each one of these three-dimensional figures based on the net. Well, I think the one on the right, hopefully, is a little bit easier, but this is actually a cylinder, folks. This is a cylinder. You have a circle and a circle as a base, right? If I folded this corner up and this corner up, and then believe it or not, the space in between those bases will actually make a rectangle. The one on the left is a prism, but then we've got to try and identify those bases again. And then this time it's a triangle and a triangle, so we call it a triangular base. Triangular. Now, as I mentioned, sometimes these nets can help us find surface area, the area of each surface, the outside surfaces, and the area of each one, and we're going to add them all together. All right, so let's just start with this triangular prism. All right, now what we have to kind of be careful of is understanding what all of these different dimensions mean. Okay, so let's just start with a triangle. I think we remember for triangles that the formula is 1/2 times base times height. But this height has to be in a special spot. It has to be that altitude, which is labeled in this triangle. Okay, these two sides over here, which are labeled 8 and 8, right? They're also going to be 8 and 8 over here, are not the height. It's this 9. And the base is this line right here. Well, we've got to figure out what that base of that, well, wait, it's labeled right here. It's 10, right? That's a rectangle, so that's 10. So is this side is 10. So 1/2 times 10 times 9. 1/2 times 10 is 5. 5 times 9 is 45. All right, so triangle 1 equals 45. Triangle 2 equals 45. And that's the nice part about these bases, that they're both the same. And now we've got to take a look at the three rectangles. The middle one is probably the easiest one to see. That is a dimension of 12 or 10, and this is a dimension of 12. So this middle rectangle is base times height, or 10 times 12, which is 120. So one of those rectangles is equal to 120. The other two rectangles are a little different, right? We know that these longer stretches here are 12. It's labeled down here, it's 12. But we've got to figure out what is the height, right? It's not labeled here or those two. This is where you've got to imagine the net gets folded up. This corner comes up to here, and this one leans against it. So this side is actually congruent to that side. This side congruent to that side. So I've got two rectangles that are 8 by 12. Whoops, not minus. That should be 8 times 12, or 96. And we have two of those. So one of them is 96 and another one is 96. And we need to add all of them up to get our surface area. Okay, so I'm going to add them all up. 45 and 45, that's 90. 90 and 120 is 210. Plus another 96, that's 306. 306. 396, 412. centimeters. 412 centimeters. All right, so we've got to be careful how we use some of those different dimensions when we've unfolded it. All right, now the second example is the surface area for this cylinder. We've got two circles. Okay, an area of a circle is pi times r squared. Now, it doesn't say anything about rounding, and so because it doesn't say anything about rounding, we're going to leave pi in there, and we're going to go 4.4 squared times pi. I'm going to go to decimals because I don't know what 4.4 squared is off the top of my head. 4.4 squared, 1936. We're going to leave that, 1936 pi. 1936 pi. And I'm going to make a list, 1936 pi. And I'm going to list it twice because I do have two of those circles. So both circles are 1936 pi. Now here's the trick. Okay, and again, in a cylinder, the space between the cylinder, if I unrolled it, is going to make a rectangle. Base times height. We have the base, 7.2. I know it might be hard to read, but the base is 7.2 times the height. The height here is equal. Where did all of that go? Oh, there it is. Height equals the diameter of the circle. Height equals diameter of the circle, because that whole entire rectangle has to go, and it definitely has to go around that whole entire circle. It has to cover the circle. Right, so the height is the diameter, or in this case, it's 8.8. 8.8 times 7.2. I got to clear that. 8.8 times 7.2 gives us an area of 6336. 6336 for the rectangle. Now, when we add these up, we do have to be careful because we can only add like terms together. So I can only add these two pieces together, or 3872 pi. If I add the two circles together, okay, I'm going to get 3872 pi plus the rectangle is 63.36, and we're going to label that in centimeters. Centimeters. Okay. So again, we've got to look back to a lot of our formulas. This case was circle, this case was rectangle, but in a cylinder, the height for the rectangle is the diameter of the circle. Now, there is an easier way to do some of this, and we're going to skip that one, but there's an easier way to do this with prisms and cylinders by finding something that is called the lateral area. All right, so to make life easier, we can find this lateral area by finding the perimeter of the base and multiplying it by the height of the prism. Okay. And if we do that, that will give us the lateral area. So we can take surface area and say that surface area equals the lateral area times the height of the prism. How far apart the bases are. How far apart the bases. But this lateral area has its own little formula. It's the perimeter of the base. Perimeter of the base. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, here we go. Lateral area equals perimeter times the height. perimeter of the base times the height between the two bases. So in this prism, we've got a triangle in front and a triangle in the back that we need to find the perimeter for. Well, the perimeter, if you look at this triangle, is 12 by 5. What's this slant? 13. So perimeter is going to equal 12 plus 5 plus 13, or 30. So the P in this formula equals 30, and LA equals the perimeter of 30 times the height between the two bases, or in this case, how far apart are these two triangles? 9 centimeters. Or in this example, we get 270 centimeters. 270. So we're taking the perimeter of the triangle, perimeter of a base, and multiplying that perimeter times how far apart the two are. All right, so that gives us these three rectangles for the surface area. So lateral area was equal to 270. We still need to do the area of the two bases. Right? So that lateral area is the space in between your two bases. We've got to find the area of each base. Well, fortunately, they're the same, right? That's the best part about prisms and cylinders. They're the same. And so area of a triangle is half times its base, which is 5, times its height, which is 12. 5 times 12 is 60, and half of 60 is 30. So both triangles are going to have surface areas, not 36, of 30 and 30. If I add all of them up, I will get my total surface area, 330 centimeters. Square centimeters, I should put. Okay, so square centimeters. So let's just amend our formula, right? Surface area. That's not surface area. It's going to equal your lateral area times your base area times 2 of your base areas times 2 of the base areas. And that lateral area is coming from perimeter times the height between, pH, not science, perimeter times the height between the bases. All right, let's look at another one. Here, in this case, is a cylinder, okay? It is a cylinder. We've got to find the perimeter of the rectangle, right? Now, remember, in a cylinder, this inside height of the cylinder, if I made a net again, would tell me that it's 9. If I take and unfold it, remember that the length between the two bases, right, that height is the diameter, which would be 6 and 6, and here's my 9. So the perimeter, or the lateral area, is the perimeter. 15 is 30 times the height. 30 times the height in between the two bases. 270 again. $270. Now for surface area, we take that lateral area and we add both bases, the area for both bases. So I need the area for those two circles. Well, a circle is pi times r squared. Radius is 3. So 9 pi for both of them. 9 pi for the first circle on top, 9 pi for the second circle on the bottom. So my surface area is 18 pi plus 270 square inches. Square inches. All right, so there's a lot of stuff happening here with our prisms and cylinders and how to find those correct dimensions, especially when we're working with a cylinder. If you have any questions at all, please make sure that you reach out. Otherwise, until next time, everyone, stay safe